So did you know that JD has a massive, I'm talking about a massive appeals decision coming up? And not only that, but you and I, we can actually watch it live. And did you know that depending on how things play, we might just see an information drop that, well, let's just say it would be the courtroom version of the Manhattan Project. There's that. There's other news on the appeals front. There is so much going on right now. Make sure that you catch the entirety of this video because, man, this stuff, it's exciting. So hey there, do you fine folks, by the way. Now before we get into this, I'm going to ask you to do two things. First of all, I'm going to ask you to pause this and I'm going to ask you to share this video far and wide. Why? Because people, they think this thing is over. This thing, it's far from over. You have the UK 2020 coming up, but also you have Virginia 2022. Everything is still growing, and you know what? People, they don't need to lose faith or focus. They need to keep their head in this because so many things are coming up all of the time. Also, if you would, feed that algorithm. That means leave comments. That means leave likes. Anything to help this grow. That makes the video grow. It goes out to other people, and again, it helps them stay informed. So first things first, what exactly is this appeals decision? I mean, what exactly is it impacting? Well, if you kept up with JD over the last couple of years, 2019 to 2020, you weren't prepping for JD versus that nameless party. What you were keeping up with was JD versus NGN. That's News Group Newspaper, which is essentially the Sun and Dan Wooten. Now, I'm not going to rehash the entirety of that case. I mean, it was a lot of time. It was very, very eye-opening. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that justice was served. Essentially, though, it wasn't JD versus that nameless party. A lot of people are very confused on that. What it was whether or not News Group Newspaper, they put out false allegations or defamatory allegations against JD. Essentially, they wrote an article. It was aimed at Hollywood. It was aimed at J.K. Rowling. It was trying to make sure that he could not have any kind of life or livelihood. They called him two words. They called him a wife, and well, that second word, let's just say it rhymes with Walmart greeter. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time rehashing that trial, by the way. Every time I go over it, I get a little bit grr. But if you want to go over that stuff, you need to go to nickwallace.com. That's NICKWALLIS.com. He has everything laid out. That would be every transcript from every single day, every witness statement, the openings, closing, evidence, decision, and on. You look at that stuff yourself. You decide exactly how that should come out. And yeah, if you look at it and you look at it open-mindedly, I think you can understand why somebody should be able to go in and they should be able to appeal that. Now, as far as the appeals process goes, if you don't know a lot about it, that's A-okay. Because myself, I didn't know a lot about it either. I'm not a lawyer, after all. I don't deal in law, but I am really interested in this, so I had to learn a lot about it. What I found out was this. Essentially, you get two tries at going in and appealing this decision. And when I say appealing the decision, I want to make this very, very clear. You don't get two appeals trials. You don't get to go in, have a trial, lose it, go in and appeal again. What I'm talking about is you get your decision, you say, can I have an appeal? Someone gets to decide on that. If they say no, then you get to go and ask that again. And if somebody says no again, well, it's over. Now, as far as where JD is at right now, I mean, when I say this out loud too, it blows my mind to say this. So the guy that decided on that first trial, the guy that basically decided in NGN's favor, that was one Justice Nickel. Now, Justice Nickel has a lot of ties into a certain nameless party, into all types of things that should have removed him from this entire process. But instead of removing it from him, you know what he got to decide on too? He got to decide on that first appeal decision. And again, when I say that, he's deciding whether or not there was something wrong in the trial decision. And what do you think he said? He said, of course, I was right. There's nothing flawed or fallible in what I said. Of course, that doesn't need to go any further. Now, he and the mainstream media, of course, they thought that was the end-all be-all. There was no way anyone would even hear what he has to say after that. Now, luckily for JD, and let's be be honest, other people that are put in situations like this, Justice Nickel, and of course the mainstream media, they aren't the end-all be-all. Apparently someone decided, hey, you know what? I want to hear what these folks have to say. I want to see whether or not there should be an appeals trial, and that hearing on whether or not this gets to take place. And again, we won't have a decision on whether or not it takes place, but we'll get to see exactly how this stuff lays out. Well, it's going to come up on the 18th of March, 2021, and you can see all of this spelled out here. You have JD versus NGN, or News Group Newspaper Ltd, and another. The other, by the way, of course, is Dan Wooten. That's the guy that wrote the article. So essentially, you have the Sun, the place that housed the article, and you have Dan Wooten, the guy who decided to pen said article. This is an application for permission to appeal by the claimant. So again, he wants to be able to appeal. This is JD saying, will you hear this? Against the order made by Justice Nickel, dated 16th of November, 2020, dismissing the claimant's claim against the defendant. Again, he was saying, that they went in, they had wronged him. They were going in and they were slandering and vilifying. And the thing that was held up, oh, well, what a mess. The judge held that the defendants had proved that the defamatory allegations they published about the claimant acting, let's just say egregiously, I'm covering it up there, toward, let's just say, a nameless party, were substantially true. Now, as far as all of this taking place is concerned, it is going to transpire on YouTube, so they're going to broadcast on YouTube, so it's not going to be hard to pick up what they're talking about. You show up here, you and I, we can tune into it, no muss, no fuss. Now, there's going to be a little bit of chaos when that kicks off, granted, because we don't know which courtroom it's going to happen in. They have Court 71, they have Court 73, and they have Court 76, and they haven't decided which one it's going to happen in yet. Maybe they'll decide before that, but hey, a little bit of excitement before, that actually might be a little bit of fun. Now, here's the one catch to it, though. The one thing that I'm saying, oh man, too, because it's just like any of the other trial parts before. This stuff, it starts at UK time, 10:30 in the morning. Now, depending on where you live, that's around 4:30 in the morning, as in 4:30 a.m. my time in the U.S., Eastern time. It's around 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, a really early one. But at the same time, this is the first time that you and I, we have been allowed in the courtroom to see exactly what's going on. So it'll be an interesting appeal. Now, as far as what they're going to be presenting is concerned, we already know portions of it, but there's one surprise. I don't know whether or not we're going to get to hear that surprise or not yet, but if we do, man, it is going to be fascinating. Why? Because it's going to bring up an epic lie, and it's going to bring up the fact that a decision, that trial decision, it was partially based on said lie. The judge, he even said so. Now, as far as what we do know there, we have the grounds of appeal and we have the skeletal argument. You and I will go through all of that in a live stream before we get to that, so stay tuned. Make sure you keep an eye out for that. Now, as far as responses go, too, NGN and Wooten's response, you're talking about around 3 pages. They have to keep it at 3 pages, too. It seems really cocky, but it's not based on length. It's just based on the way they go in and the way that they present things. Now, as far as the surprise is concerned, one thing that they didn't know during that trial was about the CHLA and about the ACLU donations. They essentially didn't know that all of that money that was supposed to be donated, yeah, it wasn't. Essentially, someone had been lying about that for years. They lied about it in their witness statement, too. I mean, that is a huge thing to say. They lied about it. The judge actually based part of their decision on it, and it turned out that stuff, yeah, it wasn't true. That might actually be presented, and if it is, woo-wee, that is going to be crazy. Now, along with that, you're going to have some fascinating questions come up, too, like why was everything else discounted, save the testimony of a small group of freeloaders? You have EMTs, you have police, you have proof that someone lied to Homeland Security, you have proof that somebody lied to the Australian government, but hey, all of that, it was set aside. Now you have these lies to add on to it. Again, going to be fascinating to watch play out. There is so much there. There's so much to see. But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff. And as always, I appreciate the heck out of you. And even if that appeal does not transpire, even if it is denied, essentially, you got to see somebody go out, say their side of things, and I think that they presented an overwhelming case. Unfortunately, well, the courtroom, it's not a fair place. Justice, it's not blind, it's blinded. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you think about this. If you want to help the channel out too, there are links in the description. Definitely check those out. But keep an eye out for that live stream. Let me know what you think about this stuff again. And as always, appreciate the heck out of you.